They told me not to record this. That's the first thing you should know. The second is that I waited until the building was empty, until the hum of the fluorescent lights in the corridor went quiet and the janitor's truck pulled out of the gravel lot. I brought my own tape recorder. Cheap plastic, red record button worn smooth from years of use. Same one I used to log weather anomalies back in '78. Same brand anyway. I trust things that still click when they turn on. You can hear it if you listen close, the faint snap when the cassette engages. That sound means there's no going back. My name is Kent Barrows. I was a forest ranger in the late '70s, stationed in a stretch of land most maps don't bother to name properly. On paper, it was just another managed sector. Trees, trails, lookout points. Nothing special, but paper lies, always has, especially when the pencil marks are light enough to erase. I'm saying this off record because on record, none of this ever happened. In 1978, I was 34 years old. Vietnam had already taken enough years from me, and the forest felt like something quieter, safer. I traded jungle rot and radio static for pine sap and wind through fir branches. I thought I was done listening for things in the dark. Thought wrong. The first weeks were routine. Morning patrols in an old green truck that coughed when it started. Paper maps folded and refolded until the creases tore through. A logbook that smelled like mildew and graphite. I wrote in block letters back then, clear, careful, dates, times, weather, animal sightings, all the things they teach you to notice so you don't start imagining the rest. But even early on, there were gaps. Blank spaces in the logs where entries should have been. Pages torn clean out like they'd never existed. When I asked about it, my supervisor, Frank Delaney, a man with nicotine-stained fingers and eyes that never quite focused, told me some sectors didn't require full documentation. Why, I asked. He tapped the cover of the logbook with one finger, not hard, just enough to make a point. Because they don't, he said. That was the end of it. The forest itself didn't feel wrong at first. Too quiet maybe, but forests do that. They hold their breath when strangers pass through. I told myself that. Told myself a lot of things back then. The radio was the first crack in that story. Analog unit dashboard mounted. One channel assigned, one emergency frequency. No digital readouts. Just a dial and a soft hiss when you turned it too far. During daylight hours it behaved. Clear check-ins. Routine chatter. But after sundown, especially near the northern ridgeline, it would pick up things it shouldn't. Breathing. I don't mean interference that sounded like breathing. I mean rhythm. In and out. Pauses that felt deliberate. When I lifted the handset to call it in, the sound would stop. Dead silence. Like whatever it was had noticed me listening. I logged it once, just once. 2140 radio interference. Unidentified source. The next morning that line was gone. Same page, same date, but the ink, my ink, had been rubbed until the paper went thin. Nobody said a word about it. That was when I started paying attention. There was a sector west of my usual route, outlined faintly on the map. No trail markers, no signage, just trees packed tighter than the rest, branches woven together like they were trying to keep something in or out. Delaney referred to it once as the quiet zone. Not officially, just in passing, like you mention a bad neighborhood you didn't plan on visiting. Stay east of that line, he said. Your truck breaks down over there, you walk back, you don't call for help. I laughed, thought he was joking. He didn't laugh back. By midsummer, one of our own didn't come back from patrol. Name was Ellis Moore, younger than me. Fresh uniform, still believed the rules were there to keep him safe. He signed out at 14:00, heading toward the ridge. Weather clear, visibility good. He never signed back in. They organized a search, but it was the strangest one I'd ever seen. Limited grid, no dogs, no helicopters. We weren't allowed past certain tree lines. When I asked why, Delaney told me Ellis had likely wandered off his route and succumbed to exposure. In July. I knew better, we all did, but nobody said it out loud. Saying things out loud makes them real, makes them harder to erase. That night I found Ellis's name written in pencil on the inside cover of my logbook. Just the name. No date. No notes. Like someone was keeping score. I erased it. My hands shook while I did. Sleep didn't come easy after that. When it did, I dreamed of radios clicking on by themselves, of voices calling my name from just beyond the tree line, not shouting, never shouting, whispering like they knew I was close enough to hear. The forest doesn't chase you. That's the lie people tell themselves. It waits. It learns the sound of your boots, the way your breath changes when you're scared. By the time you realize you're not alone, it's already too late to pretend otherwise. I stayed because leaving felt worse, because part of me needed to know what they were hiding behind those erased lines and missing pages, because if I didn't keep watch, someone else would, and they'd be even less prepared. This tape is proof I was there. Proof that what happened wasn't imagination or stress or old war ghosts following me home. If anyone finds this, understand something. They didn't lose control of that forest. They gave it up. And it noticed. After Ellis disappeared, time stopped behaving the way I understood it. Days still passed, you could mark them by sunrise and the ache in your knees, but memory started folding in on itself. Conversations repeated. Routes felt longer one week, shorter the next. The forest didn't change. We did. They assigned me more night patrols. No explanation. Just a clipped note in my mailbox and a new line on the duty board. I didn't complain. Complaining draws attention, and attention was already in short supply. Night work in those years meant analog tools and trust in your own senses. A heavy flashlight that threw a yellow cone through the trees. A compass that stuck when humidity crept in. Paper maps you learned to read by touch when the wind threatened to rip them from your hands. Radios that hissed like they were alive. The quiet zone changed after dark. During the day, it looked like any other stretch of forest, dense, yes, but orderly. Trees growing where trees were supposed to grow. But at night, depth disappeared. Distances collapsed. A tree line 50 yards away felt like it was breathing down your neck. Sound didn't travel right. Footsteps vanished after a few steps, like the ground itself was absorbing them. The radio started calling out numbers. Not codes. Not coordinates, just numbers spoken slow and steady between bursts of static, always the same voice, always wrong in a way I can't explain, flat but not mechanical, human but stripped of anything that made it someone. I never answered. I don't know if that was instinct or training, but every part of me knew that answering would be a mistake you couldn't log your way out of. One night close to midnight, I heard Ellis's voice. Clear as day. Same nervous cadence he had when he was unsure of something but didn't want to admit it. He said my name once, just once, over the emergency frequency. I pulled the truck to a stop so fast the engine stalled. My hands hovered over the radio, fingers numb. Protocol said respond. Every cell in my body said don't. I didn't. The voice repeated my name, softer this time. Then the radio went dead. No hiss, no static, like someone had cut the line at the source. When I reported the incident the next morning, Delaney didn't write anything down. He just listened, nodding like I was describing the weather. Voices carry in the hills, he said. You get tired enough, your brain fills in the gaps. He slid a manila folder across the desk. Inside was a typed memo stamped restricted. No letterhead, no signature, just instructions. Do not pursue auditory anomalies. Do not respond to unverified transmissions. Do not enter Sector W under any circumstances. Sector W, so it had a name after all. I asked him what happened if someone did. Delaney leaned back, chair creaking. For a moment I thought he might actually tell me. Instead, he said, then we write a different ending. Tracks started showing up a few days later. Not animal tracks, at least not any animal I recognized. Too wide, too deliberate, like something that knew exactly how much of itself it wanted to leave behind. They appeared near the border of Sector W and vanished just as cleanly, ending in bare ground where nothing else disturbed the soil. I photographed them with a department camera. Film, not instant. When the prints came back, the negatives were blank, overexposed according to the lab. I knew that wasn't true. I'd framed the shots carefully, balanced the light, done everything right. The forest didn't care. Another ranger requested a transfer, then another. One just stopped showing up. No search that time, no mention. His locker was emptied before the end of the week. I started keeping my own records. Separate notebook. Pencil only. Dates encoded, locations written sideways in the margins. It felt paranoid, but paranoia implies imagination. This was survival. One entry still sticks with me. 22:17, observed movement beyond tree line. No sound, trees displaced without wind. That was the night I saw it, not fully, not clearly. Just the suggestion of scale. A darkness that didn't match the night around it, like a shadow cast by something that wasn't there. The air pressed in, heavy enough to make breathing work. I backed away slowly, flashlight off. When I reached the truck, the radio clicked on by itself. Too close, the voice said. Not Ellis's voice, something else, something older. I didn't sleep after that. I didn't eat much either. Hunger felt dangerous, like it made you lighter, easier to take. The final order came in late autumn. Official letter this time, transfer pending. No explanation, just a date and a signature I didn't recognize. Before I left, I crossed the line. I told myself I needed closure. Told myself I was going to prove something, document it, bring it into the light. The truth is simpler. I was tired of being afraid of something I couldn't name. I packed light, flashlight, radio, notebook. No weapon. Weapons imply a fight you think you can win. Sector W swallowed sound the moment I stepped in. The forest closed ranks behind me, and for the first time since I'd arrived, I felt it. Attention. Not hunger, not anger. Recognition. The moment I crossed into Sector W, my watch stopped. I didn't notice it right away. Time only matters when you're still pretending it's on your side. The forest felt different under my boots, softer, like the ground had been turned over and never quite settled again. The air smelled wrong. Not rot, not pine. Something dry and old, like paper stored too long in a locked room. I kept walking because stopping felt worse. The flashlight beam shortened, swallowed after a few feet. Trees leaned inward, not bending, just existing at angles that made no sense. There were no animals, no insects, not even wind. The silence wasn't absence, it was restraint, like everything was waiting for permission to make a sound. The radio stayed quiet. That scared me more than the voices ever had. After maybe 10 minutes, maybe an hour, it's hard to say, I found the clearing. I don't remember seeing it open up. One moment there were trees, the next there weren't. The ground was bare, stamped flat and marked with lines burned deep into the soil. not symbols, paths, repeated over and over as if something had paced there for years. In the center stood the lookout tower. It wasn't on any map, not even the erased ones. The structure looked older than the forest around it. Wood bleached gray, metal rusted through. The stairs were intact, though, and worn smooth by use. Recent use. I could see it in the scuffed steps, the places where weight had settled again and again. I didn't climb it. I didn't need to. From the clearing, I understood what it was for. The tower wasn't meant to watch the forest. It was meant to be seen. The realization settled heavy in my chest, like I'd finally read the part of the manual they never wrote down. The tower was a marker, a boundary, a compromise. Whatever lived here didn't stay because it was trapped. It stayed because it was allowed to. The radio crackled to life. Not static, not breathing. A voice behind me said, "You're early." I turned. I shouldn't have. Every instinct screamed not to, but instincts lose authority once curiosity takes over. There was no shape I can give you, no face, no limbs, just a suggestion of height, of mass, of something occupying space that didn't belong to it. The air bent around it like heat off asphalt. My eyes slid away whenever I tried to focus. It knew my name. It knew Ellis, knew Delaney, knew every ranger who'd ever stepped too close and everyone who'd learned to look away. It spoke without sound, pressing meaning directly into thought. "We keep what wanders. You keep the rest away." That was the agreement, not written, not signed, maintained through silence, missing pages, erased ink, through men like Delaney who understood that some truths don't protect people, they end them. I asked what it did with the ones it kept. The pressure increased, not pain, weight, like standing too close to something vast. "They remain." That was all. I don't remember leaving the clearing. I remember being back at the truck, engine running, radio dead. Dawn breaking through the trees like nothing had happened, like the forest hadn't just leaned close enough to whisper. I turned in my gear that afternoon, signed the transfer papers, shook hands with men who wouldn't meet my eyes. Delaney nodded once. No words. I carried Sector W with me for decades. In the way I avoid forests that grow too quietly. In the way radios still make my skin crawl when they crackle unexpectedly. In the dreams where I'm standing at the edge of a clearing, watching a tower that was never meant for us. This statement stayed off record because it had to. Because once you name a thing like that, once you put it in the open, it doesn't stay patient. It doesn't wait behind erased lines and unwritten rules. If you're hearing this, it means I'm gone, or close enough that it doesn't matter anymore. Maybe the agreement's failing. Maybe someone decided secrets were a luxury. All I know is this. There are places in this country that are protected not from us, but for us. And the forest remembers every time we forget that difference. The tape will end soon. When it does, don't go looking for the two. It's already looking for you.